From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? It's Wake Up War Chant, part of the WarChant.com family. Use the promo code WarChant30 for 30 free days of access to the ultimate Seminole sports source. Risk-free, all that good stuff. Check it out, WarChant.com. Follow us on social media. He's Corey Clark, Corey with an E _ Clark without the E. Wake Up War Chant, War Chant. Also, as always, please do subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Next month, we'll go and see what the latest review is, whether it's a 5-star, which it should be. Hopefully will be. Let's bring in Corey Clark, the best part of the day, every single day. Corey, how are you, friend?
I'm good, buddy. I am good. Just living life and loving life.
I hear you. We had a shout-out from some guy in a nice white Dodge Charger. Was like, yo, Aslan, listen to the show every day. Love you and Corey. I'm like, all right, what's your name? I'll give you a shout-out. And he said, McCraven. And I'm like, okay, I'll give you a shout-out. But I thought it sounded like he said maybe like Coach McCraven from Godby. So I looked him up, and apparently the head football coach at Godby's a McCray. So it's Coach McCray. So shout out. He's got the best quarterback in all the state of Florida. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, Jeff Sims. Trey Fisher, what? Let's throw some freaking times and lasers. Let's go, Trey.
Man, didn't Trey put up huge numbers for them?
Big numbers. Big.
Yeah, apparently they got really good wide receivers over there too. In fact, I'm pretty sure I met one. I can't remember if I met one of their dads out at the open practices in the spring.
Yeah.
I feel like I did.
I think I did as well. I think his name was Michael, maybe.
So,
MC,
we're Tallahassee guys. We're rooting for Godby.
Yeah.
We root for all the local teams. Am I right, Aslan?
Exactly. And
even
I'm kidding.
The baseball team.
And Jeff Sims is the best, everybody. Jeff Sims is a quarterback of the future. He's going to be Willie's dude. It's going to be a beautiful thing. But as Corey did mention, and speaking of Taggart also a Tallahassee guy, obviously, being the head football coach of the biggest show in town, was at Dick Howser Stadium on Tuesday to support the men's baseball team, or simply the baseball team, in their quest to snap their streak against the University of Florida in collegiate baseball. But even Willie couldn't help push the Noles over the top. They fall to Florida 3-1. It is the 11th straight loss to the University of Florida in baseball. It also hits you right in the plums. Mike Martin ends his career most likely with a career record of 76 wins and 77 losses to Hogtown, as he even calls it, after that loss on Tuesday. Not going to lie, Corey, you joked about the fact that, I'm still a fan. I'd get mad up there in the press box. You should have been in the press box yesterday. Poor Ira had to sit there and listen to me just every single time, just be the most negative guy ever. Somebody would reach base. I'm like, all right, so 5-4-3 double play, 6-4-3, 4-6-3 double play. How's this one going to end? That hurt, man. I feel bad for the guy, and not that he wants my pity or needs any of our pity, but 11 times to lose. I guess maybe that's the symmetry in this one, right? They started 11-0, and then they had the no-hit shutout in the first game, and they actually went past 11-0. But just for it to end, to lose the last game that you're probably going to get a shot at that school in what seems to be just absolutely quintessential fashion for this program of late. And then his press conference afterwards, it was a bummer, man. I might have taken this loss harder than any of the football ones, oddly enough.
Oh, all right. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, man, there's really not a lot to say. I mean, at some point when you play that team, some guys wearing garnet and gold have to hit a ball hard somewhere. When you have runners on base and you're one of the best hitters on the team, don't hit a ground ball right to the second baseman. Figure out a way to get runs home. I mean, it's every time they play that team, and that's not a good team. They give up a crap ton of runs over the weekend with their better pitchers. So for you not to be to only score one run, and look, man, we can. I know when it comes to baseball, well, really in sports in general, coaches get blamed a lot. They hit the ball, man. I mean, it's not like Mike Martin forgot how to coach hitting, and it's not Mike Martin Jr. It's not how Mike Martin forgot how to coach. It's just You have a group of guys, and it's heck, now it's 3 straight years, right? Or coming on 4 straight years that just never show up and and get that big hit against the University of Florida. The last one to do it was Quincy Neaporte, like his sophomore year. That's it. And then they won a game in a super regional when Drew Carlton threw a 2-hit shutout. And I don't even think in that game they didn't have a hit after like the 3rd inning, but Drew Carlton was Drew Carlton, so they won the game. It's just sometimes, man, hit a ball. I get why it would be frustrating. You're allowed to be a college baseball player and get a big hit when it matters. They do. Florida's not better than Florida State hitting. I mean, you know what I mean? It's not like they have a bunch of great hitters and Florida State doesn't. Florida's offense actually is better, but I'm just talking this one. I'm talking about through the years.
Right.
But the Florida kids always find a way to get a hit. Florida State kids don't ever against that team. So it's just, it's like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if you have to sacrifice a live chicken. I don't know if you have to go kill an actual alligator. I mean, maybe that's where you go. You actually take out whoever's the coach next year. We think it's Junior, but whoever it's going to be, before that first game in Gainesville, you bring an alligator with you to the park. Now, don't do it on their field. That would be disrespectful. But off to the side, maybe in a bullpen, you kill the thing. I don't know what else to do. I don't know what you do. Yeah, like Jackie Sherrill did way back when at Mississippi State, where he cut the testicles off the bull in front of his team, and I assume half the team threw up. Yeah. But he was doing it as like a motivational ploy. Man, you got to chop the alligator's head off. You have to do something for the baseball gods to end this thing. Or the guys could actually, bow up in a situation with runners on base and find a way to put together an at-bat and find a way to get a hit once. Anyway, that's just me being mad.
They had 8 hits. Only 2 walks, but 8 hits is plenty. To walk folks through it, in case you weren't in tune with the game, Florida struck first. It all came on an error. J.C. Flowers got to catch a ball on the warning track. It became a double, and then they moved the runner over, and then eventually scored on a pass ball, which I don't know if you can get an E2. But I just don't know even how that ball got past Matthew Nelson, and they scored on a pass ball.
What do you mean? It's Florida State playing Florida.
Yeah.
That's how it happened. How does J.C. Flowers, who's a very good outfielder, it is a 3-year starter, it has actually been kind of nails for this team and come up with some really big moments and big hits and obviously big outs on the mound. How does that guy turn into like a 14-year-old center fielder?
Yeah.
I mean, how does that happen? He's a very good baseball player, but it's Florida. It's Florida State. That's how it happens.
9th inning, leadoff hitter for the Gators gets out to 3-0 count, Nelson Maldonado, but Chase Haney comes back, gets a pop-up, and then then the whole pitching thing starts becoming a really crazy thing here. They had a single. J.C. Flower overruns it. It becomes practically a double, and then Haney gets ahead on the next batter he faced. So there's now a runner on second with 1 out. Haney's ahead 0-1. And then he gets pulled for Clayton Kwiatkowski. Kwiatkowski gets a big strikeout. So now there's 2 outs. And part of it is that this next guy is a lefty. Clayton Kwiatkowski's a lefty. So they're going to go lefty-lefty on here. They do the intentional walk to bring up the lefty. Florida then decides, all right, well, we're going to bring a righty in. Then Kwiatkowski stays in the game. And then this guy who is a pinch hitter, he's got like a 350 average. I don't even know if he's obviously not an everyday guy, because if he's hitting 350 as an everyday guy, he would not be pinch hitting. But you could not have had Danny Werfel throw the ball in a better spot. Just slices it oppo in the corner in right field, bases clearing double, 3-1 lead for Florida, and that's how it ends. And just, you don't want to say over managing, because they went against parts of their DNA. That's the most frustrating thing, I think, is offensively, they're not timid. They're not just sitting there and looking at pitches and getting out to 3-0 counts, and then it becomes 3-2, and they just sit there with the bat on their shoulder all the time. It's happened once or twice. But I think Salvatore swung at the first pitch he saw in the first inning. Like, a lot of guys got the green light and can go after strikes if they want to. They just cannot hit the ball where the opposing team is not, and especially when they're playing Florida, it's even doubly more problematic, it seems. But Connor Grady bless his heart, has the best start of a Florida State pitcher this year. That was the longest start by a Florida State starter this year, 7 innings, 9 strikeouts, I think only 2 hits. The one run that he did allow was actually unearned. All this is obviously in the backdrop that Florida State is trying to chase 40 wins, and it's becoming readily apparent that that's not going to happen, and making the tournament every single game just falls further and further out of their reach. And Mike Martin was extremely frustrated after the game, did not even have an opening statement, tried to be funny and said something about, I haven't had this much fun since I got mugged in downtown Afghanistan. Questions, please. And, the last thing I asked him was, he seemed so excited when we spoke to him on Monday about that win over Miami. You mentioned it a little bit on the show, too, when we recorded for Monday, Corey, about just how good it was, even though they lost the series to Miami, get that win on Sunday, salvage something, get some momentum going, plus the fact that he gets to beat Miami the last time he's pretty much is ever going to play them. I asked him, that was obviously so exciting for you. Is this pretty much the antithesis of it? And he goes on to say that, he cannot remember. I don't know when I've ever been this frustrated in 40 years as a head coach. And then I say to myself, like I say to the players, shut up and play, and that's what I'm going to do. He's not giving up. Nobody. I don't think this team is giving up. They're still fighting and battling. They got squeezed a lot on the at the plate, but it's just it's hard to find ways that this is going to, I don't want to say get fixed, but these freshmen are not going to grow up in time. Mike Martin Jr.'s methodology of making guys want to wait through counts, I think he can get 1 or 2 freshmen to buy into that, sprinkled into the lineup of veterans that he usually has. But the fact that there's 4 or 5 guys that are freshmen that are being relied on, just it's not meshing, it's not coming together, and Clemson coming to town is not the elixir to get it done.
You wouldn't think. I mean, who knows? I guess seasons have turned around with less talent than this Florida State team has, and yeah,
they are talented. You're right. They are talented. They're supremely young.
They're really young, and they're lost. I mean, I don't know what else you could say about Cabell, but my man has 54 strikeouts in 103 at-bats. I mean, that's insanity. Wow. That's crazy. 54 strikeouts. Now, he has been walked 28 times, and he's been hit 10 more, so his on-base percentage is still 423, and he's still slugging 466, so he's got an OPS of almost 900, which is good. But my man's hitting 214. I don't know when his last hit was, and he has 54 strikeouts. I mean, I get that baseball's different than when we grew up, but you used to be embarrassed by strikeouts, and now you swing for the fences or swing hard even with 2 strikes. But at some point, man, you would think like, and I'm not taking a shot at this kid. I think this kid has enough talent to play in the major leagues and play for a long time. He has just unbelievable raw power. He can run. He can throw. He could be the total package, but at some point you'd think you would get almost embarrassed and be like, I'm going to do whatever it takes this game to put the ball in play. Yeah. I am not going to strike out this weekend, whatever it takes. If I have to shorten my swing to almost half bunts, I need to put the pressure on the defense because this team has struck out 306 times. It has 257 hits. It struck out more than it has. It has more strikeouts than hits. It's just, and again, it's not like Meat has decided to stop coaching hitting. And they do strike out more than a lot of teams traditionally because they do work deeper in the counts. And the more deep, if you don't swing at a lot of first or second pitches, or if you're waiting until you get your perfect pitch, well, you could be in a hole and then you do strike out. I get that. But this is just insanity how much they're striking out. But, more than anything, we can dissect the way that 11 handled the bullpen, how he handled that last inning. I get it. It does, seem a little bit like over managing, but would it have mattered? If they hadn't, J.C. Flowers could have come in and pitched 9 straight shutout innings. We'd all still be at the park.
Right.
Because this team wasn't going to score a run. Was there, again, that's what has to change. And again, I guess it doesn't because I'm not even talking about as the team, like the team has scored, that's I think 5 times in their last 7 games or 6 times in the last 8. No, let's see. I'm going to do math real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 times in the last 6 games, they've scored 2 runs or less. Might be 6 of 7. I can't add. But, that's crazy.
It's not a way to
2
win.
runs or less in college baseball. It's nutty. And against Miami on Sunday, 3 of those runs were unearned. So anyway, I just think that this team, it's just, you look at these batting averages, you have 2 guys over 300. You have 3 guys over 275 or better. Everybody else is under 240. And, having Reese Albert would be a big deal. He's a good hitter. He might be their best hitter. So it is a loss that you don't have him. But still, it'd be nice if somebody on that team would just find a way to get a hit. Just get a hit. And maybe they press too much because it's Florida. And then, you hear me talking and it feels like I'm taking it personally. But it's like, man, this team, like, it's almost like, I don't know. It's like, what have you guys done? You haven't earned the right to be this bad. Like, you haven't done enough to be this bad. Why are you guys going to drop the rope? 39 other teams came and went and got to 40 wins and got to the NCAA tournament. Nobody on your team can step up and start playing and start being a really good college baseball player. It just can't happen. In his last year, by the way, this is how y'all are going to let him go out. But anyway, again, that's probably too hard on the players because, number one, they didn't recruit themselves and they're not coaching themselves. So everybody deserves blame. But that was just a perfect crystallization of what Mike Martin said is, obviously one of the most frustrating stretches of his career. And it should be. I mean, they've lost 13 of 20 games. Like, when has that ever happened? And I guarantee you there's never been a 20-game stretch in Mike Martin's career where they went 7-13. So, of course, it's frustrating. And 3 of those losses were to Florida. 2 were to Miami. I mean, of course that's frustrating. So, I get it. It's I get why he's frustrated. I get why fans are frustrated because it's your rival. And it is a goofy midweek. I don't know why I'm talking so much. It is a goofy midweek series, 3 games in 5 weeks in 3 cities. But they win them. Why can't you win them? I think half the time they're defeated before they even get to the field. And I think that goes to mindset. And you'd like, Tyler Holt's a coach on that team. There's never been a better competitor in Florida State history than Tyler Holt. Take after that dude. Show the team some clips of that guy, the way he played. I don't know. I'm just rambling. Just a really frustrating, irksome loss because that Florida team's not even any good. This ain't a team that's going to win a national championship, and you got swept by those guys. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Sorry, Florida State baseball players. But you know what? You can turn it around. You got, what do they got, 22, 23 games left in the regular season?
Yeah, I tried to do the math when you were talking, but I felt like you were winding down, so I got really nervous and I stopped counting. But they got Clemson.
Either way, win them all.
You win the Clemson series, and then things do change around. You figure you beat Miami, beat Florida, that maybe starts propelling you here into doing something positive. But I mean, again, this just goes to the fact that it feels like all this stuff is slipping away, and we've said it so many times. You wrote it really well in the column that's up on warchant.com that 40 wins, to the degree that we've taken it for granted, is absurd. And to the fact that he made it look so easy for so long, that so many things can go wrong. There's injuries. I mean, this isn't the first time they've had a youth movement. I think this might be the youngest lineup he's had, but they've gone into seasons where freshmen have ended up being an ace, right? I mean, like Mike Compton steps up out of nowhere and becomes one of the better arms for them. Guys like Blair Varnes back in the day. It's just all the ebbs and flows of a baseball team and just how much of a game it's centered around failure. And this guy's never failed. I know people want to say that he hasn't won a national title. I understand that. But he's never failed to win 40 games. He's never failed to put this team into the postseason. And this last go-around, with granted, yes, a young team, but talent, it's like a nightmare. I can't imagine just how nerve-wracking it is for him because, again, we don't want to talk about maybe the way Mike Martin Jr. handles batters and his offensive philosophy. But just think about what Mike Martin said on Monday about, I'm not going to change what I've done. It would be the worst feeling if I changed the way I coached the game or the way I felt about the game. Like, he has to be at some level of paralysis by analysis that literally nobody on the planet can even empathize with or grasp. Just the amount of games he's coached, and he's won 2,000 of them, over 2,000 of them, but just Do I let my guy stay out there? Do I let Chase Haney finish it out even though there's a lefty coming up? I mean, you could say technically by the rule of, baseball forever, he did it the right way. They intentionally brought a lefty up so the left-handed
you could
pitcher
also say, why wasn't his closer in the game? It's 1-1 in the ninth. Like, there's not going to be a save situation. There can't be because you're the home team. So why wouldn't you just have the guy that has a .66 ERA and, one earned run in 14 innings? Why would he not be pitching?
He was 0 for 4 at the plate with 2 strikeouts and had 2 errors practically in the field. Maybe you don't think he's going to be
at least you get him out of center field.
I guess.
Right? At least you get his glove out of center field because he's not playing that position well. But I'm saying, but either way, why would it have mattered? Were they going to score?
So I honestly joked with Ira in the bottom half of the 8th. I think Mendoza led off with a single, and then Cabell struck out like he was teeing off at Augusta. By the way, we need to do our master segment coming up here in a minute. And then the next 2 guys go down quietly into the night as well. But they led off the 8th with a single, and I joked with Ira, I'm like, good. I'm like, I don't want them to have the lead going into the 9th. I feel like they'll be too nervous nursing the lead, and they'll squander it. Let them just get through the 9th, and let's go to a 1-1 tie in the bottom of the 9th, and maybe one swing of the bat changes it all. But then, unfortunately, the events of the 9th inning we talked about. And I don't want to put our guy out there, but even Ira, who's a journalist through and through and calls everything straight down the middle and abides by all decorum in the press box, like even he groaned a little bit when that pinch hitter hit that ball opposite field to the right. I mean, it was just, I guess a home run would have been the worst case scenario there, but like a guy to go opposite field is almost more insulting. It's almost a bigger kick in the balls.
I would say the way they want it is more fitting.
Yeah.
Like if a guy just teed off and just crushed one, but no, it had to be a little squibby bloop right where it had to be, perfectly placed, because that's just how the baseball luck and the baseball gods are in this series right now for Florida State. But you know what? It's one game. We shouldn't spend more time on this baseball team than we need to. Whoa. Hopefully they can right the ship. The bigger news was what happened on the hardwood with a kid declaring for the NBA.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about Magic Johnson abruptly stepping down as president.
Yeah, that's big news, huh?
Jeez, my goodness. He's like one of my favorite all-time guys. I would fight the good fight for so many years about him being a better basketball player overall than Michael Jordan, just futilely in vain.
Well, that's crazy, but he was awesome. Like, he is legitimately one of the top 5 or 8 players ever.
Yeah. And this happening, I mean, what a disaster the Lakers are, but no one cares about that. I'm going to go ahead and rescind what I said the other week. Like, I'm shocked that Kabengele not only declared, but also said he's going to hire an agent, which I guess you can clarify it. I texted friend of the program, Dallin Cuff of ESPN, and he did say that players who do hire agents can still come back. But, I mean, you'd have to withdraw your name because one of the rules that they've changed as well is that if you do declare for the draft early and you don't get drafted, you can rejoin your team without any sort of penalty. But Kabengele is going to get drafted. We just don't know where in the first round, most likely. But I just felt like he was positioned to come back, get better, be more dominant. He's a skilled player, and he's only going to continue to grow. But I just felt like the one more year in college, he would have been quite dominant, might have been able to leave a bigger legacy at Florida State. And it's probably not as big of a factor for him as I imagine, and it shouldn't be. He's got his own life to worry about, his own family, finances, and things of that nature. But for Mfiondu Kabengele to declare for the draft and also say he's going to hire an agent, by all indications, means that he's gone. I'm shocked. I think you said you'd be surprised but not shocked. I'm shocked now. It happened. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it feels like you let us all down. I mean, we had one more run, Fee. We had one more run in us as a fan base, as a media entity. Yeah. We were all loaded up for 2019-2020 season, and then you went and ruined it by declaring yourself for the draft. But anyway, I would say that, yeah, I mean, I'm not stunned by any stretch of the imagination. I think I put it, maybe it wasn't on this show, it was on headlines. I think I put it at 60-40 that I thought he'd come back. So yeah, not really stunned at all. And yeah, there is now. Look, he did hire an agent, but I think the rule is either if you don't get drafted, you can come back, or if you decide to pull your name out, you have to do it by like May 19th or May 20th. I think is when you can go back. You can say you're going back. So he has 6 weeks now to go work out for teams, gather information, hear what he's saying, and decide what he wants to do. Now I would now that he's in though, I would lean more towards I would be stunned if he comes back.
Okay.
It's just once you've decided to put it out there.
Yeah, I agree.
Hire an agent, go through all these workouts. Well, number one, I think he's going to hear good things. I think they're going to see what he was on film. They're going to see how he shoots the ball. They're going to see how athletic he is for his size. Obviously, he's got the pedigree. He's got the family history in the NBA. I just think everything works for him being a first-round pick at some point. But who knows? They might tell him, he might hear from everybody, no, man, we're not going to draft you. If you're around in the second round, we'll draft you. But if he hears that from enough teams, then he might say, you know what, I'm going to go back. This isn't worth it to take the risk that I might be a second-round pick. But yeah, either way, I think it's a bummer. Just like the end of the season was a bummer. But he also saw what happened to Kofor. There is risk. Break your foot, tear your knee. There is a risk if you come back, just like in any sport, that you might not be the same, or you might get hurt. So, I get it. I was hoping, I think he could have improved his stock a little bit, but that's easy for me to say. But I think what's even more important, not more important, but what's really cool is that just watching him develop over really a 3-year stretch was really neat. And I wish him the best. He was awesome to talk to, a really nice, articulate, highly intelligent kid who worked really hard. In just, when you see a kid that comes in completely under-recruited and kind of doughy and then turns himself into what he is and now could be a first-round pick, that's a really cool story. And I think after we get over the, the hurt that we feel, Fee, you hurt us. But once we let that settle, I think we're all going to be really rooting for that kid to be in the league for 10 or 12 years because I think he can be number one. I think he's a great ambassador for Florida State and the coaching staff for how he developed. He's just a great ambassador and a great recruiting tool. But overall, he just seems like a really great kid. And I hope he goes and makes $500 million in the NBA.
Yeah, he's one of the more thoughtful, inquisitive sort of interviews that we had on the beat the last few years. Absolute pleasure to watch and cover. And yeah, I mean, I hope the best for him, obviously. I was just, you talked about, we had another run left in us. I think of the scene in Rocky III when Balboa comes back to the locker room after Clubber Lang beats the crap out of him. And Mickey's like laying on the bed. He's like, Mick, we got more to do. It's like, Fee, we really did have a lot more to do. And maybe this dovetails a little bit into the folks are getting upset on the tribal council about apparently, I don't know if it was a writer or maybe a panel of folks on ESPN.com did their way too early top 25 for this upcoming college basketball season. And Florida State was not ranked. And people were quite offended by that. And I guess you have some reason to believe that. I mean, that's 2 years in a row they made it to the Sweet 16. But I think Ira was telling me in the press box that now means, I think maybe they got 2 of their top 8 scorers returning, and one of them is MJ Walker.
Hey, well, let's not disparage MJ Walker. He could take a big leap. But yeah, obviously you're losing essentially your whole front court.
Yeah. You
return Raekwon Gray. And I didn't say that dismissively. Raekwon Gray has a chance to be really good. And he better be. Yeah. You better be in the sand right now running, buddy. You got to get in shape because they're going to need you to play about 32 minutes, my man. And they got the kid from Rice coming, or not coming. He's here, but he will be eligible. But they have a lot of question marks in the front court. They lost Kumaji, Kofor, Mann, and Kabengele. Those are enormous losses, not to go along with Nichols and Savoy. So those are enormous losses. So I get it. Yeah, I think if Kabengele would have come back, I would have had Florida State as like number 10. But he didn't. He probably won't. But let's just enjoy that it happened because it really was neat. And it just goes back again to how much of a bummer it was that they weren't completely themselves in the tournament because I think it could have been a really special season. I mean, it was a special season. I shouldn't say that. It could have been a special tournament run. If they had been fully healthy. But either way, man, what a great Kabengele was a part of a tremendous 2-year stretch. It was just a fun team to cover. And I wish all those guys, I hope all those guys make a living for the next 15 years playing basketball.
Yeah, and they all definitely left this program in better shape than they found it in.
It's not too late, Fee.
Well,
Come on, man.
A good thing, too, is obviously the transfer market is huge in college basketball.
Sure.
And,
I don't want to transfer, though, Aslan. I want Fee back.
I know, man. But
there ain't going to be another Fee. Like, they can transfer. I don't care anybody can transfer. It ain't going to be Kabengele.
What if we
like
get
that
Ike
guy.
back?
I like watching that dude play.
What if we get Ike back? What if Obiago comes back home?
Oh, if he transfers back in? That was actually funny on Twitter. I can't remember what he tweeted. Like, Kabengele tweeted out he was going, and then Obiago retweeted and said, "I'm proud of you, boy," or something like that. And I wanted to be like, man, you could be here. You could be stepping back in. You could be getting all the minutes you wanted now with but no, you're in New Jersey somewhere, playing for Seton Hall.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a bummer too. Why'd you have to leave, Ike? Why do they all leave us, Aslan? We're good dudes. It's a good fan base.
Yeah, man. You come here and you don't lose at home, and everyone loves you. And by the way, really nice. Much better done. I like Kabengele's farewell a little bit more than Francois' "I'm coming back." I think it was a little more well done, a little more well crafted. Sure. That was a low blow. I'm sorry. Hey, though, just so we can maybe meet our quota to just talk about football on every single show, and since we just did talk about the draft, did you hear any of the sort of the back and forth that Nick Saban had the other day about the draft and players leaving too early and him selfishly or maybe unselfishly saying that he's not happy about it? Did you hear about that, or do I need to catch you up?
No.
The people might not have heard about it.
Quick.
So Saban, is talking about how he's pro NFL, he's pro letting these players go on and fulfill their dreams, but he thinks that too many of them are going and declaring on the heels of bad advice. I think he pulled some sort of stat where the amount of underclassmen who declared either last year or maybe the last 2 or 3 years, I don't know if he was using a 3-year range or just last year, but he pulled out some sort of number like 25% of the players who declared early last year did not even get drafted. And the way the NFL works and the way the NCAA is that if you do declare, you're gone. You're done. Like Jalen Wilkerson, gone. He can't come back. Say I don't even know who would be eligible to leave the basketball. Like if Trent Forrest wants to declare for the NBA draft, he could declare, put his name in there, and if he doesn't get drafted, Trent Forrest can come back and play basketball next year. Doesn't work that way for football. So 25% of the guys don't even get drafted, and then another 25% are out of the league in 3 years. And then what do you do? Like 3 years is not enough to make to last for a long enough time. And then he cited Tallahassee's own Ronnie Harrison from FAMU High, I think, that he's like, we got a guy. I'm not going to say him by name, and this is what Saban was saying, but everybody knew who it was. He's like, we got a guy who left here last year, and he got drafted for third-round money, and he's a starter. He started for this team as a rookie, and he's going to start again. But if he would have came back, he undoubtedly would have been a first-round pick this year, and he would have been making much more money. And then Ronnie Harrison, tweeted at him like, you don't care about the players, hashtag keep my name out your mouth.
No, he didn't. Did he really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Ronnie Harrison went back at Saban. I mean, it was like a sub-tweet. He said, right. I should pull up the tweet right now. But and this probably is not going to shock a lot of people. People keep talking about pay the players. Like, listen, I don't want these players struggling. I don't want them, starving and not able to pay their cell phone bill. Like, I'm about maybe getting them a little bit even above the cost of living stipend. But like, the day we give players anything above like minimum wage in addition to everything else they get, like college sports is going to suck. And I know they're getting paid under the table, but it's like the devil you know and the devil you don't know to a certain degree. Like, we can be a little bit oblivious to it. There's things that go on. I'm sure there's planned secret attacks going on around the country and the world to keep us safe. But like, I don't want to know about all of it. Like, I don't want to know players are getting paid $60,000 on top of what they're already getting. Like, it will take everything out of college athletics, and I know it's a business. I'm not being naive to it, but I mean, the people who keep talking about pay the players, I just thought like Saban actually made a pretty good point. But then again, you get the whole, you get the Brandon Jenkins of the world, the guys who do come back and they get hurt, and that gets washed out over the DeMarcus Walkers.
The thing that's always bothered me about these types of discussions, not the pay the players discussion, but if he had come back, he definitely would have been a first-round pick. or if he'd have come back, he'd improved his stock. That was dumb that he did that. Right. That's not true. We don't know that. Was there not enough film on Ronnie Harrison? Like, if he was a 3rd round pick after his junior year, chances are he might have been a 3rd round pick after his senior year. It's not like you know what I mean?
He started in the NFL. Corey, he started in the NFL for a team that won their division.
Right, but then what would they have seen? He was really good his last year at Alabama. So what would he have shown as a senior that would have led them to believe that he was this much better?
Well, he played so good as a rookie that he started, so you would think if he was playing in the college ranks, he would be just as dominant, and that would be that much of a slam dunk to take him in the first round.
But we think he took a huge leap in 6 months? Like, he just became a great player from age 21 to age 22?
No, but maybe he would have put more tape. There's more evidence.
They just didn't scout him correctly.
Maybe. I found the tweet.
But I think the things that would have bothered him, like it was the same thing with Devontae Freeman. Like, Devontae Freeman left and was, a 4th round pick?
Yeah.
Maybe a 3rd. I can't remember where the Falcons drafted him. And people said, well, that's crazy. You left early and you're a 4th round pick. Well, what was the reason he was a 4th round pick was because of his size and his speed. Well, that wasn't going to get any better. Now, he proved, just like Ronnie Harrison proved, that he's better than a 3rd or 4th round pick. But you can't prove that until you get to the league. I don't think anybody, if Devontae Freeman would have come back in 2014, because trust me, Devontae Freeman certainly has played in the NFL when he's healthy, like a 1st round pick, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
he could have done anything in 2014.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think what bothers somebody like Ronnie Harrison is like, man, I'm out here making money. I'm also a lot closer to my 2nd contract, which is where the real money is. And you make $11 million a year, whatever it is. Keep my name out your mouth, Nick.
Here we go.
I get it.
Here he said, his tweet was, coaches get so butthurt nowadays about a kid making a decision to live out his dreams and go pro. Makes me think, do you really care about the success of the kid or how well your program performs? Shrugging emoji, 100 emoji, hashtag keep my name out your mouth, hashtag Bama, hashtag Saban, hashtag God got it.
Well, that wasn't really much of a subtext either, a subtweet, right?
I forgot. I didn't know he did hashtag Saban.
Hashtag his name. Keep your name out my mouth. Come on, Ronnie. That's awesome. That's really funny. But yeah, I mean, that's always been my biggest gripe with that is people will say like an Austin Rivers or anybody else. I don't know why I brought him up. Just these basketball players where you're like, oh, he's got to go back. He's not a 1st round pick right now. Well, chances are he's never going to be a 1st round pick, especially if it's a junior to a senior. So go ahead and start making money as a 3rd round pick. He's still making more money as a 3rd round pick than he would his senior year at Alabama, theoretically. I mean, we don't know what their handshakes were like, but he's still making a nice living, and he's closer to that 2nd contract, and he believed in himself enough to say, I'm going to get to the NFL, and I'm going to be a star. And maybe he is, maybe it isn't. But I think that's what's always bothered me about those discussions is, and it's not like the Travis Rudolph one or the Jalen. Those dudes weren't drafted. That's just nuts. Well, to declare early and not get drafted at all is nuts. But if you know you're going to get drafted, whether it's the 2nd round, 3rd round, I mean, there's just no guarantee that if he'd have come back, he'd have been a 1st round pick is my point. That's Nick Saban saying that in hindsight. But there's no guarantee that would have happened because I feel like he was scouted really well. He had a lot of good stuff on film. He was a really good player at Alabama. And I think whatever he did at the Combine, he would have done at the Combine the next year, probably. So they would have had whatever the reservations were about Ronnie Harrison. I think they would have had him with another year, and all he's done is cost himself a year of earning power, in my opinion.
I just can't wait till Vince McMahon and the XFL takes off and they just start plucking kids out of high school, and then we'll absolutely just cannibalize ourselves in college football. Will just be an absolute joke.
I wonder what I see. I think you wonder about that, and I know we got to wrap up. This has already been way too long a show for a Wednesday, but
in the middle of April,
I think. I mean, I know it would matter if the players were less impressive, if they weren't as good as the ones we're used to. But I still think college football is more about just cheering for whoever's in that uniform. You know, if all the really good, you're still going to cheer really hard for Florida State or Alabama or Auburn, even if it's the 2nd tier of great players, because the 1st tier are all in the XFL or somewhere, right? I mean, I think the fan bases were pretty rabid in the 50s and 60s, and heck, it wasn't even integrated. What kind of nonsense football were they watching? in the 50s and 60s, and they still sold out. Red Grange in the 30s used to play in front of 100,000 people. So I think people are always going to cheer for college football, no matter the talent level. But maybe I think it could probably hurt the bottom line as far as TV money.
Maybe the NCAA will double down if the XFL starts, poaching guys away, and they're like, you have to stay.
Wait, are
4
they doing
years.
an XFL?
XFL, I think, is trying to get players, like maybe I don't know. I shouldn't say that. I thought I read something about they're maybe trying to get players who are maybe not straight out of high school, but if you do play like your freshman year, like and you're like you're an Adrian Peterson kind of guy, and you're just a freak and you ball out your freshman year, like the XFL will take you, it will draft you and pay you, because I think the NFL and the NCAA have the agreement that you have to have 3 years to be able to go pro, the way the NBA has the whole one and done thing.
Right.
So the XFL would sort of curtail that and be like, oh yeah, you're fine, man. We'll pay you right now. I don't know if they do that for high school kids, like right out of high school, but I think it's, after 1 year, 2 years, like you could go ahead and start getting paid instead of having to wait, 3 years and have the miserable life of a college football player, that terrible indentured servitude life of
that
being
was always
a college football player.
my complaint with Rudolph is like he left. I get it. I guess he thought he was going to be now. Talk about somebody that got bad advice, like leaving after his junior year is just ridiculous. He wasn't drafted. I think he ended up playing some as a rookie in 18.
Yeah, with the Giants.
Or 17, whenever that was. Maybe 7. I don't remember. Yeah, maybe 17. But obviously that was a mistake when you leave early and you don't even get drafted. But yeah, so my point was like, yeah, man, being a college football player is kind of awesome. Like your room is paid, your lodging is paid for, your meals are all paid for. Now you got to go live in New York. Even if you're making the NFL minimum, which is still a lot of money, you have to live in New York and you have to pay for everything. When you're in college, you get everything. You get to live in a big football mansion. Once it ggets built, you'll have your own football mansion. Where you have your own nutritionist. You get fed every day. You get just all of it. It's just you get your own workout equipment. It's beautiful, baby. It's beautiful. Being a college football player is great, but yes, it is a little perverse that these kids don't get paid hardly anything. Now they do get cost of attendance stipend. And all the guys that coach them get paid. They're all millionaires. That's a little perverse. I get that. I get that side of it too.
Well, it's also
being
beautiful.
a college football player is still pretty cool.
I'm going to keep us on a little bit longer. I'm sorry.
We got to go.
Like, Saban said, like, listen, 25% of the guys are leaving. They're not getting drafted. 25% of the guys are out of the league in 3 years. Okay, that's not good. Like, these kids probably should stick around. Like, I wanted to think about.
But what do you think his gripe is about that? Do you think he really, and this is an honest question, do you think he really cares?
No.
If these kids are out of the league and where are they going to go? What are they going to do with their lives at 26? Or is he upset because guys that would have helped his team aren't there anymore?
Well, it's both, I think. I mean, listen, if you're not there to help him, but you're making a whole bunch of money, like he's not gonna hate on that. He's not gonna begrudge you. But when you could be there helping his team and you're not drawing a paycheck anymore, he's kind of shrugging his shoulders like, I told you. Like, why'd you do that, dummy? But I mean, I know that's not fair. That looks like a bully. Again, we don't know the economic factors of these people. But here we go. Like, just for example, man, I mean, guys, I think, God bless NoleFan.org. Although I wish they would tell you on here whether or not they were an underclassman. I can't tell. Maybe just let's think about this last year. Like, Josh Sweat, did he do anything last year? Did he even play for the Eagles at all?
I don't remember. If he did, it wasn't much. He certainly did make a huge impact.
Izzo left early. Izzo coming back, I don't know how much that helps him. Auden Tate, obviously, I think he ended up getting cut by the Bengals. Tavares McFadden obviously doesn't even get drafted. Jalen Wilkerson doesn't even get drafted. Everybody else I think on here was at least 4 years. They didn't leave early. The year before, Roderick Johnson left. He went 5th round. I saw him back at the spring game. Good for him. I don't know where he is right now on a roster. There's so many guys who do leave early that you do wonder, like, was it really in their best interest to leave? I wish the NFL would maybe start looking into something where they allow the kids to come back if they don't get drafted. They obviously can't be like, all right, you thought you were going to go 2nd round, and you went 5th round, and you want back in. We can't do that.
I think it's the ones that don't get drafted at all are
probably never going to get drafted.
That's the point. And what else would have Auden Tate done And didn't he have like 9 or 10 touchdowns his last year? I mean, he was the only guy that made plays for that offense. Like, what could he have done in 2018 with that offense?
Right, yeah.
What would that have done for his career? I don't know that he could have helped himself. Obviously, I don't think, McFadden maybe could have helped himself, but he was still going to run a 40 that needed a sundial to be timed. That wasn't going to change either. He still wasn't just a fast enough kid at cornerback to get drafted, no matter what he had on film. Now, the film he had as a junior was awful, and that didn't help, but they were always going to be scared of his 40 time and his athleticism. And same, with Izzo too. I mean, I just don't know. And I think Izzo even got drafted, right?
Yeah. He got a ring.
Yeah. So if you get drafted, at least you're in the game.
Yeah.
At least you put your foot in there and you're in the game.
And he's a tight end, and tight ends aren't going to do anything in this offense. So I think
Josh Sweat legitimately is a one guy where you can point at and say, yeah, he probably should have come back and he got drafted in the 4th round, which isn't terrible, but he could have helped himself maybe by 2 or 2.5 rounds because he got himself into that great shape for the combine. He looked, when he was doing those at his pro day at the combine, he looked like a crazy athlete that we never really saw at Florida State because of the injuries. So if he'd have come back as his senior year and put that together with his athleticism and him and Burns on the other side, just be 9s coming at you from all different angles. But and then he gets drafted mid-2nd round. Well, then at that point, they have enough invested in you that they're going to try to develop you and make sure you can play. They're going to give you every opportunity if you're a 2nd-round pick or a 1st-round pick, obviously, to try to develop you, to give you a chance, to give you a couple of years, to get you on the games to see what you got. When you're a 4th or a 5th or a 7th-round pick, man, okay, they don't have anything invested in you at all.
Yeah.
So if they cut you, they cut you. If you can't prove in the first 8 months in the franchise that you're any good, they might just cut you.
Yeah.
So, but when you're drafted higher, not only do you make more money in the short term, but you also are more of an investment where they really want to try to develop you. And I think somebody like Josh Sweat probably could have been helped, especially being opposite Burns, probably could have helped with another year. But then I also get it because of the injury concern.
Yeah.
What if he comes back and breaks his leg again? Well, then his football career's over, and he never got paid at all. So I get it, and it's always weird for people like us. Well, I shouldn't speak for you. People like me with hardly any athletic ability at all, and certainly no scouts ever knocking down my door. Never got close to realizing my dream. Never got close to it.
Well, you're in the
NBA. You think I wanted to be on a radio show with you?
You were almost on in the NBA, brother. So
well, I did enter my name in the draft, sure, but it didn't work out for me. But when you're that close to it, I get it, man. I get maybe skipping the step that you really need, that last step. I get it because it's so enticing, because it's so right there. Mfiondu, if you're listening, there's still a step left, my brother. They're still right there. Tallahassee is a cool place. The whole city loves you. You're one of the I think Mfiondu is one of the more beloved players of the last decade.
Yeah.
People love that way he plays, his energy, his excitement level. Come on back, man. It's not too late.
Rapid fire thoughts.
I know somebody listening to this show is friends with him.
Yeah.
Get him this tape.
Yeah.
Tell him to listen to this. I'm not too proud to beg. Mfiondu, we need you back, man. We need you back. I have some money through some investments I've made in my past.
Corey, come on, man. Come on.
I will float you for a year. Come on, man. One time. Whatever car you want. Within reason. I mean, it's got to be a 2017 or earlier. I'll hook you up, Mfiondu.
Just some rapid fire thoughts from me. Matt Leinart, Matt Barkley, they came back. They were first round picks. They came back, and I think Leinart might have still gone first round, but Matt Barkley definitely did.
Well, here's another thing real quick, because that gets brought up a lot. I think there's a misnomer there that Matt Barkley cost himself by coming back. No, what happened was Matt Barkley was the same player he would have been if he'd have gone out the year before. This happened with what's his name at like Jimmy Clausen and somebody else at Notre Dame that I remember. They get scouted. Like what Mel Kiper saying a guy is going to be the number 1 pick in October doesn't mean anything. They actually get scouted. And I think what happened to Matt Barkley, I think he was like a 3rd round pick. I don't think he cost himself money by coming back to school because everybody sees these mock drafts in September and thinks, oh, he's the 1st round pick. Of course he is. Well, no, he's not. Nobody knows that. He just got scouted. They looked at the film. When they look at the film, they see the arm strength or they see this or that they don't like. They get, that's when they lose their draft status. I don't think Matt Barkley, because he came back, because he was good his last year at USC. So what changed?
Was he?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I thought that was the year. I thought his last year was the year that Lane got fired on the tarmac.
No, but I think he was good. The season wasn't good, but I think he was good, or he had good number. I mean, it wasn't like he was awful where you're like, I mean, look at what there's been quarterbacks that have had awful final seasons that get drafted.
His junior year, he completed 69% of his passes for 3,500 yards, 39 touchdowns, 7 picks. His senior year, 3,200 yards, so he threw for less yards, was 63%, so 6% about less completion percentage, and he threw 36 touchdowns and 15 picks.
All right,
not
so
quite Jameis fall off, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of picks. Yeah. But I mean, again, I just think they scouted him, and they saw, okay, can he make these throws? Can he make that throw? Can he make this throw? I think that happens more than we think. There was a guy at Georgia Tech, James Forrest, who was a basketball player in the 90s, I think mid-90s, who everybody in Atlanta thought, oh, he's going to be a first-round pick after his freshman year, his sophomore year. He's going to be a first-round pick. He's going to be a top 10 pick. Well, he came back to school and then declared after his junior year, and he was drafted in the second round or maybe not drafted at all, and people said, oh, he made a huge mistake. He should have gone pro when he had a chance. Well, no, they just – nothing – I mean, he was who he was. Like, it wasn't like all these scouts thought he was the best player in the country, and then they watched him more like, oh, no, he's not very good at all. He just got scouted. And so I think like Matt Leinart, they thought he was going to be the number 1 pick, and he ended up being like the 9th pick, right?
I thought he went to the teens, but you could be right. I'll check that out.
Yeah, I thought he was top 10, but either way, I just think it became like, okay, they see who he is now that they've looked at him, and they're not in love with him. But heck, look at Matt Leinart. What did he do his last year? Wasn't he awesome?
10th overall pick, Leinart.
Yeah, but he was awesome. Like it's not like he threw 8 touchdowns and 22 picks. That was the team that lost to Texas, I think, in the national championship game.
Yeah.
And he was really good. That offense was incredible. So it wasn't like anything he did during the season.
He threw more yards, less touchdowns, more picks.
But that was also Reggie Bush, right? Wasn't that his crazy year?
Yeah.
But anyway, again, it wasn't like he fell off a cliff.
But his freshman year, he threw 38 touchdowns and 9 picks. And then his last year there, he goes 28 touchdowns. So he throws 10 less touchdowns and just 1 less pick.
Well, but again, he's also, he had Lindell White, Reggie Bush. Right. You know what the point, though. The point
Way to go, 5 more minutes when I was trying to do rapid-fire thoughts.
Sorry, but that's always something I've always thought is these people that get criticized for staying in school because they hurt their draft stock, but we're taking Mel Kiper's word for it. And Mel Kiper don't know nothing. And Fee, I'm serious. Seriously, I don't know what else to say, man. I'm not saying I'm brokenhearted, but it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while to get over this. So this is a sting that's not going away anytime soon.
He's Corey Clark. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening. Head over to warchant.com. Leave your questions for the Renegade Express. We're going to take no, we're not going to take tomorrow off. We're going to be back for a show on Thursday probably because that's what people want. What do you mean, oh boy? I
can't wait. That's what I meant. I can't wait.
I
feel like I talked way too much just now, and I'm going to be real short and concise tomorrow.
All right. Bye, everybody.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.